So hopefully some of this video is review for you in that we're talking about multiplying by powers of 10, but we're also going to take what you already know about that and add a little bit more to it, which might be the harder part of this, but we're going to take this one step at a time. So when we talk about multiplying a number by powers of 10, that's simply saying we're multiplying the number by either 10, 100, 1,000, and so on. Or it could be powers of 10 that are less than 1, like 0.1 or 1/10, 1/100th, 1,000th, etc. So when we talk about multiplying by powers of 10, you hopefully already know that when you're multiplying by a power of a 10 that's greater than 1, for example, a 10, 100, or 1,000, it's simply a matter of moving the decimal point. So if we were to actually do 100 times 0.35, we would see that when we do that, we would end up with 35 as our answer. And I had to erase it because I was going to run out of room there. But the reason that works is, once again, we would just have to take that decimal point and move it over 2 spots. There's 2 zeros, and since it's a power greater than 1, we move it to the right. So if you know that, it's a little bit of a shortcut in moving that decimal point around, which is actually what we've been doing with our dividing by decimals. So you look at the number of zeros you have, and since this is a power greater than 1, we're going to move that over 3 times. So we started with 8.5, and if I move that over 3 times, I'm going to fill in 2 zeros here to hold those places. So 8.5 times 1,000 would actually be 8,500. And again, taking that decimal point and simply moving it to the right, however many spaces you need to, in this case 3, and then once again filling in your zeros. In this case we had to fill in 2. So I'm going to write down my number again here. We've got 2.72 times 1,000, and so we're going to move it 3 spots to the right, and you can see that when I move this, I already have 2 digits there that I am going to put that decimal point behind, but I need one more, so I'm going to put 1 0 there. So then my answer would be 2,720. For this one, we're multiplying by 10,000, we've got 4 zeros, which is going to tell us we need to move that decimal point 4 places. So when we do that, we're going to have to fill in 2 extra zeros, so write down your numbers, your 2 extra zeros, then get your comma in there and know that that would be 59,800. Now it does get a little bit trickier, and this is probably the part that's new to you, when we're multiplying by a power of 10 that's less than 1. So you can see on the screen we've got 5.4 times 0.01. So this works just a little bit different. So when we are looking at the powers of 10 greater than 1, we just counted up the zeros, and that's how many digits or how many places we moved the decimal point to the right. When we're multiplying by a power of 10 that's less than 1, we're going to move the decimal point to the left, and we're going to simply count how many digits are behind the decimal point. So for this one, we're going to start with our 5.4, and we're still going to move the decimal point, but we're going to move it to the left this time. And we're going to move it to the left 2 spaces. So we're going to go 1, 2. And again, I have to fill in a 0 to hold that place value there. So 5.4 times 0.01 is actually going to give us 0.054. And again, this 0 right here is really important. Otherwise, it's going to be 54 hundredths, and we want 54 thousandths. So again, you're counting up your digits just like you did with greater than 1, but you're moving that decimal point to the left instead of the right. So you want to make sure that you are paying attention to that, because it's a really easy mistake to make as you work on your own. So we'll do a couple more examples like this. So now that we've got 93.6, we're going to start with that. We've got 1 digit behind the decimal point, so we're going to do 1 space to the left. So my final answer would be 9 36 hundredths, or 9.36. Now this next one, we've got 3 digits behind a decimal point, so we're going to start with that first number. Actually, I'm going to scoot that over just a little bit so I have a little bit more room, and I do expect to see some neat work on your paper. And we've got 1, 2, 3 digits, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And again, we have to fill in those decimal points there, so we want to make sure, or fill in those zeros there, so we want to make sure our decimal point gets in the right place. So 7.84 times 1,000th would be 708, or 0.00784. So again, when you're looking at this, these are kind of the general rules that I want to see in your notes beyond just the examples. So this symbol right here means greater than. If you don't already know that, make sure you're working on remembering that. That symbol down at the bottom means less than. So here at the top, when you're multiplying by a power of 10 that's greater than, and that should be greater than 1, your decimal is going to move to the right. When you're multiplying by a power less than 1, your decimal is going to move to the left. So these are kind of the rules that you want to keep in mind as we're working on this, because the next video we're going to talk about dividing with powers of 10, and it gets a little bit confusing. So have this in your notes. Make sure you understand which direction to move the decimal point and when, and then how many spaces.